ESPN Game Day, the number 7 Indiana Hoosiers and George Reister will visit Eugene on Saturday for a top 10 matchup with the Oregon Ducks at Autzen Stadium. Welcome to Talkin Ducks. I'm Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian Oregon Live, filling in for Jordan Kent, who the last time I saw Jordan on social media, he was in Tokyo hosting and calling a Mario Kart convention / competition.
What? He's doing that?
I know. Let me bring in. Let me bring you guys in. George Reister and Anthony Newman. Before we get to the topic, I was a pretty mean Mario Kart dude back in the day, but I kind of feel like right now, like some 9-year-old with red shell me in like 12 seconds. Did you guys ever play Mario Kart?
No.
Me and my kids play Mario Kart every single week.
It was the game.
We play Mario Kart every single week, and Dad is Maynard. I am the best. I'm an elite Mario Kart level player. I know all the shortcuts. I know all the ins and outs. But on the new Switch 2, they got Mario Kart World, which is completely different.
There goes George.
The whole experience. Give him
a rope.
Is
wants to be a cowboy. It's okay.
What?
Calm down, George. All right. All right. Our topics this week, we're just off the rails already.
Oh,
see what happens when Jordan is here?
I do want to say one more thing. You said I will be in Eugene this weekend. Most likely, the air traffic controllers may not be working. So if ain't nobody working, I will not be hopping on a plane. I'm just letting everybody know that.
Well, I hope you're there because I just realized we've known each other for 8 years. We've never met in person. And I was going to have a talk to you face to face about interrupting me till I looked up your Pro Football Reference page and saw you were 6'3", 250. So I was like, all right, I'll just let that go. But yeah, we've never met.
Hey, that's why you've been talking all that noise. That's why you've been talking all that noise, Aaron, from afar. Because you ain't face to face.
I know. It's easy when he's in LA. He's going to be in Eugene. I'll have to hide out. Okay. Let's get back to the show. All right, the topics today. We got Oregon. Did Oregon fall in the AP poll because Penn State lost to UCLA? And does that matter at all in terms of Oregon's future? I don't think it does, but we'll talk about that. We'll also examine the QB battle. We got Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, who's been lighting it up, going against Dante Moore. And of course, we'll offer our predictions. With that, let's go straight into the opening drive brought to you by Guarantee Chevrolet. Let's get that graphic going. All right, guys, the topic. Oregon lost 17 number 1 votes in the AP poll. They lost about 3 or 4 in the coaches poll. Stayed at number 2 in the coaches. Fell to number 3 in the AP. Mainly, I think, because 1, Miami beat Florida State, and 2, Penn State, after that monumental win at Penn State for the Ducks, Penn State went out and lost to 0-4 UCLA. So let's start with Newman, because I know George is going to filibuster. Newman, I want to start with you. Last week, man, the hype surrounding that win over Penn State grew into mythical proportions. Like everyone was talking about, the Ducks are the best team in the country because they won that game. This is so amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then they go out and lose to sorry UCLA. Anthony, did that loss by Penn State diminish Oregon's win at the Nittany Lions?
No, not at all. Going across the country, you're beating a football team that has a lot of NFL players. It was a whiteout at their place late at night. First time a lot of guys traveling that far. No. Listen, let me ask you a question. Did you pick Penn State to win that football game?
Okay, we don't need to revisit that, but yes.
No. Did you pick Penn State to win that football game, to beat Oregon?
I said yes.
Yeah, so then you don't know football. Because then that means you're talking about, Penn State ain't nothing. Penn State's so sorry. They're so soft. Well, you picked them to beat Oregon. What the heck?
You're putting words. Okay, I should have gone to George first. You put words in my mouth.
Hey.
Okay, George.
I'm just letting you know. Come on. Oregon is still Oregon. They still have dudes. That's my saying now. They got dudes that can play this game. I'm not looking at the rankings. I'm not looking at who beat. I'm looking at what Oregon has to do when they play a football team, when they come to their house or when they go over there. They have more dudes than the other team.
It don't matter who them is. It don't matter who them is.
Yes.
But on a serious note though, when you're flying so close to the sun, like we are Oregon people talking about Oregon. Everything feels like a bubble. I bet you don't feel as strongly about Ohio State's Texas win. Oh my God, Ohio State might be a fraud now. They because Texas lost to 1-3 Florida. If this were an Ohio State show, there's an Aaron Fentress of Ohio State that's asking the same exact question, and there's an Anthony Newman and there's a George Reiser that's giving you the exact same answer. And like, yes, that was a terrible loss for Penn State. There are factors that factor into it. They let Oregon beat them twice. Their head coach did not get them prepared emotionally. The scheme was terrible. Everything else, they just thought that they were going to roll out to California, roll their helmets on the field, and UCLA was just going to just say, all right, we're dead. And they were like, no. They said, we came to fight. We came to play. Jerry Neuheisel, who didn't even know how to work the headset good, was out there calling a magical game. Now, we don't know if UCLA has been reinvigorated or if this was just an angels in the outfield type of performance. Either way, it was a huge win, and it actually says more about Penn State and James Franklin because he's so laissez-faire about everything. After the Oregon game, I'm not going to let one loss define what we are doing this season. Okay, cool. And then after the UCLA loss, I'm not going to let 2 losses define what we've done. And these are quotes. So there's no sense of urgency. And when they were down 27-7 at halftime, he got interviewed at halftime. Mind you, they had just they got the ball back with about 4 minutes left, down 27-7, and they were acting like they were running 4-minute offense trying to run the clock out.
It was pretty bad.
And they asked him, what do you say to your team? Everything's fine. We'll regroup. We'll come out in the second half. Everything's fine. Everything's not fine. You're down by 3 scores. Now, I know you're not supposed to panic, but you should at least be like, listen, this ain't good enough. This is the way you get beat. So we got to knuckle up, come out here in the second half and stone them. That's what I want to see out of my head coach. But instead, we get excuse after excuse. Oh, we're not going to let it define us. We're not going to let it. This is a win and lose business.
Okay, my turn. First of all, it doesn't matter, right? 12 teams are going to make the playoffs. If Oregon keeps winning, they're going to make the playoffs. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter moving forward. However, it absolutely diminishes the impact and the magnitude of that victory. Because now you won in double overtime over a team that lost to UCLA. And I don't want to hear all the travel excuses and beating teams. Like that to me is meaningless.
That's a fact. Okay, Big Ten teams.
You had your turn.
No, hold on. I'm gonna let you finish, Aaron. You can't just say that doesn't matter because the records show that Big Ten teams traveling 2 or more time zones, they have an abysmal record. Abysmal. So go on.
Okay, UCLA was 0-4. I don't want to hear that nonsense. They were 0-4, okay? A bad football team, period. So, hold on. The hype coming out of Penn State was that made Oregon the best team in the country. I don't know how many videos and people on ESPN and all over the place, oh, Oregon's the best team. Look what they did at Penn State. That was because everyone felt Penn State was a national title contender. National title contenders don't lose to 0-4 teams, period. So that diminishes Penn State, which diminishes the win. So right now, Oregon doesn't have a top 25 win on their resume. They only have one former top 25 opponent that they played, and that was Penn State. And now they're out of the top 25 in the AP. So yeah, that definitely hurts the overall resume to this point, but it doesn't really matter. Just take care of business and beat Indiana. But absolutely that diminishes.
Does Ohio State have any top 25 wins, Aaron?
Yeah, listen, you're right. Losing Texas, falling apart like they have, definitely diminishes what the win was for Ohio State.
No, it doesn't. It does not.
Of course it does. But Ohio State at least has a win at Washington, which is 4-1. Oregon doesn't even have another win like that. Oregon has nothing right now other than a win over a team that has beaten nobody and lost to Dude, they have wins over Villanova, Florida International, and Nevada, Penn State does, and a loss to UCLA. That is a horrible resume no matter how you look at it. But again, it doesn't matter. Just beat Indiana, all right? If you beat Indiana and keep winning, it doesn't matter. But if down the road your best win was Penn State, you're screwed. But that's not going to happen, so we don't have to worry about it. But
There
anyway,
are three things that matter in terms of judging
just
teams.
admit it. Dude, just admit it. Just
Quality
admit that
wins.
it hurts.
Hold on.
It hurts
No,
optically. Just admit it.
I won't, because I watch the team and I look at as Anthony says, we have dudes. Quality wins, schedule played, and dominance. And Oregon has been dominant as could possibly be. And it's not like they intentionally scheduled poorly. You can't help what has happened to Oregon State. You can't help what's happened to Oklahoma State. You play who's in front of you. And when you are a great team, you knock their doors off. Because the difference between, Aaron, good teams and elite teams is that elite teams, they can bring that level and win every single week. Good teams drop games like Penn State just did to UCLA, or like it was another team, or like Texas did to Florida this last week. That's what good Alabama's a good team. They lost the game to Florida State, who's the biggest fraud in college football right now. So like, yes, good teams can beat other good teams, but they cannot. But elite teams carry that same level of energy, focus, and ability to win week in and week out.
Okay, they lost to 0-4 UCLA. That's all that matters. All right, real quick, since you filibustered like I thought you would, with just making excuses.
You won't let common sense get in the way of your argument. It's okay.
What else happened this weekend that you guys thought was important? Let's talk to Newman. Miami got a big win over Florida State. Ohio State took care of business. Texas lost again, as you just mentioned. Bama beat Vanderbilt. Did anything else happen around the nation that you thought was important in relationship to where Oregon sits nationally? Newman, please, Newman only.
No, I'm watching Miami, and Miami has some weapons. They got some guys. I mean, and George said at Florida State, come on, they're not anything. But Miami, they caught my attention. They have.
Yes.
They got some guys up front on the defensive line that can play. They got some receivers that can go. That team has a lot of speed, and the quarterback's playing well. So that team caught my eye. I know it was against Florida State, but they're looking pretty good. And I'll give them credit. I want to give teams credit that's due, just like Oregon. It's due. They get credit for being good.
Florida State
nobody's talking about.
Florida State beat Alabama, by the way. But go ahead.
That a broken clock is right twice a day here. And they also came back and lost to Virginia, who hasn't won more than 5 games in like 8 years. But
so that diminishes. That diminishes the win then. So it diminishes the win.
No. Florida State gets credit for doing that, but they're also a 4-loss team. Like it's just the reality is. No. They're going to be a 4-loss team.
Oh,
they have 2 losses now. The other ones are coming. You can book it. A team that nobody is talking about, who is really good, is Texas Tech. That Cody, as much as people want to talk about Oregon and Phil Knight, what Texas Tech has done with Cody Campbell, dude, they have multiple. We're talking about Texas Tech, multiple 5-star players committed. 5-star players don't go to Texas Tech, and they might be in line for 3 or 4 more. So, and this defense this year is one of the best defenses in college football. Utah has one of the best offensive lines in college football, and they clown them. So Texas, nobody's talking about Texas Tech, but when they get in the college football playoff, it is going to be a problem for whoever they play.
All right. With that, let's end the very long segment 1. When we come back, we'll talk about the matchup against Indiana, and we'll examine the home field advantage. Dan Lanning has talked a lot about how big a deal it was at Penn State for Penn State and how he wants to see that energy come out at Austin against the Hoosiers.
Unbelievable opportunity sitting in front of us here with a top 10 matchup versus a really good team. You watch these guys on tape. They do a lot of things well. I think the first thing that just stands out to you is when you look at special teams and how dominant they've been in special teams and blocking kicks, just what they do, and then how they play to their players' strengths. Their quarterback's playing as good as anybody. Obviously, they're extremely well coached on both sides of the ball. They create a lot of havoc on defense, and ultimately, that's where we're counting on our fans to be part of what makes this environment great. It's an exciting weekend in Eugene. A lot of people come to town to watch this game because it's a premier game between two really good teams. and count on our fans to have a big impact on that game.
All right, that was Coach Dan Lanning talking about the Indiana Hoosiers. Newman, this is a good football team, man. I mean, they destroyed Illinois 63-9. They did escape Iowa with a 20-15 win, but Iowa's a pretty tough team. What do you think about Indiana? And is this a team that Oregon needs to fear?
I like Indiana. I mean, you have respect for every team. You don't fear anybody, but you do have respect for them. Yes, they beat Illinois. I question how good Illinois really is. But they did. Excuse me. They took care of business and really took care of business. When you look at this Indiana football team, they have every component. I mean, you're talking about defensive line to get after the quarterback. You're talking about secondary. You're talking about toughness. You're talking about offense, spread offense, that they can run the football and they can throw to some receiver outside. This is a big play team. This team is going to give other teams problems. I think the problem that Indiana is going to have going against Oregon is going against real speed, going against guys who can really run. Have they faced those type of players this year that can really run? Iowa? Nah. Iowa's two-back offense, maybe two tight ends. Everything's in a box.
They can't throw their way out of a paper bag.
Everything's in a phone booth. Come on. The corners are 5'8", 5'9". No, Oregon's going to give them a different tool. It's something different that they're going to face, and I think that's going to strike them a little bit. And also, we always say this as players, don't let travel be a factor in how you play. But it is a factor. It really is. When you got to fly across the country, okay, and you got to wake up different time zones and play in a crazy stadium, there is a little difference there. If you're a young kid, you're a sophomore and you haven't been in that situation, it's going to wake you up a little bit. So they're going to have a matchup. We're talking about Oregon. We're talking about Oregon's going to be, hey, they're going to be tested. Indiana's going to be tested. Yes. They're also going to be tested.
Yes. All right, so Newman, I'm sorry, George. Okay, so statistically, this team, they got 2 receivers with 6 touchdowns each, 400 yards. They got the rotating 3 running backs.
Yeah.
Their defense looks pretty good. But, you've talked about this before, that they have not faced the level of athlete that they're going to see on Saturday, which is something Newman just pointed out as well. Do you think that's going to be a huge factor?
100%. Dude, first of all, Hemby, for Fernando Mendoza, really good quarterback. Their running back, Hemby, nobody's talking about him. He is an elite player. He is a Sunday football player. Their wide receivers are really good players. Their right tackle is a fish. He is going to get absolutely demolished on Saturday. Because here's the thing about Indiana. They have some elite high-end talent mixed in with some Jags.
Yeah.
And Oregon has elite high-end talent mixed with some dudes. Like that's the difference. And this is going to go a lot like, as long as Oregon doesn't turn the football over, a lot like the Ohio State Indiana game last year. That Indiana's really good. But when you run up against and if you guys are boxing fans, you guys see an up and coming boxer, he looks real good. And like Canelo Alvarez, when he was young, he looked real good. And then he ran into Floyd. And then it was like, that doesn't mean that he's that because Canelo's going on to be an excellent fighter.
Yeah.
One of the best of the generation. However, there's levels to this. And Indiana is going to find out real fast that there's levels to this. And there's no slight on them. But it's kind of like what you say, Aaron, is, and I'm going to use your analogy to this. When I have asked you many times, is the Ducks playoff championship window open? And you're like, well, just because you get to the tournament, that doesn't mean that you have a chance. That's Indiana. Just because they get to the tournament, they beat that Illinois 63-10. I watched the film. That game just got out of hand, and Illinois is not a team that can come back because of what Newman said. They don't have the athletes, the passing ability to be able to do that, and it's different.
All right, you mentioned last year they were 10-0 going into Ohio State. They were looking really good, but then the athleticism of Ohio State led to a 35-15 win over Indiana. So we'll see if the Oregon Ducks can duplicate that. Up next, we're going to take a deeper dive into the QBs. This is a matchup of two Heisman Trophy candidates. Which of the two quarterbacks has the advantage?
Yeah, it was kind of funny after the Penn State game when I was so emotional. Everybody's like, man, this guy's acting like they just won a national championship. And it's like, overall, it's just people don't understand how much prep and work was put into that week. I mean, if I told my younger self you're about to play in front of 112,000 in a whiteout, top 5 hardest atmospheres in the world to play in, and we win in double overtime, like, it's just a crazy situation. But overall, it's so much work that gets put in. This past year, just learning from Dylan, like me just making the great decision just to learn and, sit back a year. It's just so much tension was built up. And, like, when I took the field against Penn State and I looked at Poncho in his eyes, like, he looked at me and it's like, I have confidence in the team, even my teammates, they have confidence in me. So I just feel like just playing in these big stages, these big environments, this week's college game day, these are just things that we just, worked hard for. So overall, like I said, I get really emotional. I get, real particular just on myself about things just because I work so damn hard for it.
It was clear last week that quarterback Dante Moore catapulted himself into the Heisman Trophy front-runner position with his performance at Penn State last week. But up there with him is Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. Let's start with you, Newman, the defensive coordinator for Westland. You deal with trying to take down quarterbacks all the time. How do you see this matchup? Is Dante clearly the better QB here, or is Mendoza right there?
No, Mendoza is a great quarterback. The kid can play. He was here a couple of years ago with Cal, got whooped on, but he was a youngin'. But he's playing a lot better. He has a good supporting cast with an offensive line, except for that tackle. They got a couple good receivers, and the fish, and the running game. The running game supports him big time because it keeps people honest. You got to stop the run. But I don't think he's in the same category as Dante Moore. And also, I don't think the receivers for Oregon, they're in a whole different category than Indiana. And I'll be real. We keep talking about speed. There's a difference. And speed kills on the field. It really does. And then let's talk about the secondary for Oregon dealing with the receivers for Indiana. I think that height difference for Oregon is big. You're talking about all the DBs for Oregon are 6'3 plus. That is huge in today's game because everybody else always have these small DBs going against 6'4 receivers. Well, now you have a 6'4 DB corner going against a 6'3 receiver. It changes everything, the length, the stride. So that makes a big difference. So I think, again, I sound like I'm repeating myself, but it's true. The speed and the size of Oregon is going to make a difference after 4 quarters of football. And Mendoza, he's going to get some because he's a good football. You can't stop great football players or good football players. They're going to get some. But, at the end of the day, he doesn't have enough.
Okay, so George, you got statistics are almost identical, right? You got 16 touchdown passes, 1 pick for Mendoza. You got 14 and 1 for Moore. But when you watch the two, do you see a separation talent-wise?
Yes. See, here's the thing, is that they are similar in their skill sets in that they're both accurate passers. They both are pretty good decision makers. I think that you would give Dante Moore just a tick edge above those. Like if you were going to give Fernando Mendoza an 8.5, you would give Dante Moore a 9. There's, like we said, there's levels to this. But I think the biggest factor is going to come down to what a lot of football games come down to, which is the offensive line. Because you can be the greatest quarterback that you want to be. Take, for instance, Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in football right now. What has happened in both Super Bowls when he had tackles out? He's out there running for his life. Yeah. He looks mortal. At the time, what happens when Tom Brady's protection would break down? He's a mortal man, and no matter how good Fernando Mendoza is, if he has time and protection, he's going to be a problem. But if there is disruption without blitzing, like the front four can get home and you can drop 7, that is going to be a major disruption to Indiana's pass game because they do a lot of RPO. So they're going to run pass options. And Fernando Mendoza doesn't love to keep the ball because he's not a runner like that. It's like Dante Moore doesn't love to keep the ball. They do it when necessary. And if Oregon is able to stop the run with 6 people in the box, with the 2 linebackers and the 4 defensive linemen, Indiana is going to have a serious problem. But if they can't, if they let him be, if they let him loose, Indiana's going to be right on track. But there is a reason why Kirk Cignetti, who has been one of the most boisterous, outspoken coaches, and mind you, I don't mind his arrogance at all because this is a dude who has grinded his way through. He was coaching at Alabama, took like a D2 or D3 job, and then worked his way back up to Indiana. And he's an old man. He's in his 60s. So,
Hey now,
Hey, yeah, really.
are y'all creeping up on 60?
I'm not quite 60, but I
I'm
think
getting
Newman
there.
is.
No,
Oh,
not
oh,
yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Look, you young whippersnapper, you watch and you respect your elders.
So I respect him for that, but there's a reason why he's coming into this game with a lot of humility. Because he's looking at that tape and he's saying, there are paths to winning. There is a path for Indiana to winning, but as I always say, the gate is narrow. Oregon has many more paths to victory than Indiana has paths to victory.
Okay, Newman, real quick before we go to break. George, you can't say anything on this one. You talked too long already. Newman, what does Indiana have to do, if anything, to slow down more? Or is this going to be another game where he pretty much can do whatever he wants? He hasn't had gaudy numbers because he hasn't had to, but he played with great control against Penn State, did what he needed to do. Do you see this as another situation where Moore is going to be pretty much unaffected and can do whatever he wants?
No, I mean, George said it, turnovers. If Indiana starts getting tipped balls, tips and overthrows, that's how interceptions happen. That's 85% of interceptions. Tips and overthrows. So if the ball's batted at the line of scrimmage, or the ball's tipped by a linebacker and the DB gets the ball, you start getting turnovers. Now you start giving Indiana opportunities. And the more opportunities, they start getting more light, start getting more confidence. So that right there, I think, is the factor that, hey, Dante Moore has to really protect the football. Make sure there's some right throws. If it's not there, just throw it in the stands, live to play another down, and make Indiana beat you, driving the ball, 15-play drive or score, or let, Indiana beat you by trying to stop you on defense and make it 4th down. That's not going to happen. But if you start giving the ball away, there's a possibility.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Next up, we're going to talk about key matchups in this game, and later in the show, we're going to talk about a redshirting running back who could be transferring pretty soon. All right, after the first few segments, it appears that both Anthony and George feel like the Ducks are going to maybe not dominate this game, but definitely win. But there's got to be some key matchup that could maybe tip the scales one way or the other. Let's go to you, George, first. What is a key matchup in this game that you feel like the Ducks have to win?
Oh, they have to win the defensive line versus Indiana's offensive line. They have to. There are clear advantages on the edges with the tackles, particularly the right tackle for Indiana, and you have to exploit that. Because Oregon, everything is going to be predicated upon this defense. Because even though they went to the whiteout, won all those things, this is still a young football team. And Dan Lanning has to not just keep his thumb, but his pulse on the team to make sure that they understand that I know that you've won good games, but you can lose. And that if we don't bring this same level of focus and intensity and manage our standard, then we will not be okay. So I think that you're going to have Dan Lanning harping on the standard and everything else at a maximum level.
Anthony, what do you think?
Well, I think, the receivers for Oregon are going to be a nightmare for Indiana in that secondary. But I think it's going to start first with the offensive line and run blocking. Having a good running game with Oregon, establish the running game to even open it up even more for those receivers on the outside. The speed of those receivers for Oregon are just it's crazy. And so you could help them more by running the football, having some gains of, 8-yard gain, 10-yard gain, a 12-yard gain. And so now you're starting to bring these defensive backs up to help stop the run. And now that opens it up in the back end. So, the receivers for Oregon, they're going to play lights out. I think they're going, Indiana's going to have a hard time stopping them. But the running game for Oregon, I believe, is going to be key.
All right, George, clearly I believe that the Penn State win was diminished by Penn State losing to UCLA, but now you have a chance to beat another top 10 team, at least one still in the top 10. What would a win over Indiana say about Oregon? Is this the toughest remaining matchup on their schedule?
Yes, because it is the game this week. Every game this week is the toughest matchup.
You can look ahead, George. You're no longer on the team. You can look ahead. It's okay.
No, and see, here's the thing that you don't know as a punter, Aaron, is that like talent wise. No, this is not even the best game talent-wise left on the schedule. You still got USC and you got Washington.
Yeah.
But every game presents different challenges. Like last year, the Wisconsin game presented different challenges than the Illinois game did, even though Illinois was more talented. Because it was on the road, the team was tired, all those. So like, that, and I know it sounds like coach speak, but this game is the most important game. And then next week will be the most important game because there are different challenges that come up every single week. So I look at this team and I'm like, just get through this one, because I think that a win here, that it goes back to my point earlier, that this shows that you are an elite team, that you can bring it no matter who the opponent is this week, next week, that you can manage the emotions and the moment.
All right. Newman, what do you think?
I agree.
Are you going to downplay it too?
I think you need to understand that. And I don't know if you do, but I agree with George.
Okay, I've heard that. Listen, it's not that I don't understand it, but we are not on the team. We can look ahead to the schedule. Is this the most important hurdle in front of them the rest of the way? If you want to say no, that's fine.
I don't know. I don't know.
There you go. That's fair.
I gotta wait and see.
That's fair. Newman, so you don't know either?
No. I know one thing. Indiana's coming to town on Saturday. Yep. That's what I do know. Okay. Period. In the story.
All right. Okay.
I can care less about the future.
I was told, you guys acted like beating Penn State was like, climbing Mount Everest, but now all of a sudden we're looking one game at a time. Okay, that's
no, it was.
Next up,
climbing Mount Everest.
Next up, we got
predictions. We don't look in the rear view mirror no more.
Information to talk about, etc. On the next. We'll be back in a minute. All right, some news regarding the team during the bye week came out. Dan Lanning said that running back Mekhi Hughes was going to redshirt, which will probably mean that he will likely transfer. He was a big-time get from Tulane, 2,800 yards, 20-something touchdowns there. Came here, discovered the depth on this running back depth chart, and got beaten out. Not by just Noah Whittington, but by several other people. Ended up like fourth maybe on the depth chart. Good for him. He got paid and he's going to leave. Still have another year of eligibility. Didn't lose this year. Newman, let's start with you. Oregon has done a great job in the transfer portal. There's no doubt. You're going to whiff every once in a while. But why do you think things didn't work out for Hughes?
It's not that Oregon had, they whiffed. It's that, there's other running backs that are better. It's that simple. I mean, you have guys who can run the ball. They can block protection, catching the ball out of the backfield. They're just a better football player. And nothing against Mekhi Hughes. He's going to go somewhere else and get his run on. He's going to take care of business. But, that's what happens when you have teams that can recruit well. They stack up the players. I mean, it's a crazy room of 8 running backs who could all start somewhere, in the league, somewhere in the conference. These running backs want playing time. These running backs dealing with competition every single day to get on the field. So you're bringing out the best of all of them every single time they play. They carry the ball, or they're blocking, or they're running a pass route. And these guys that are in front of him are better. Period. There's no other thing about it. They're just better football players, and that's what the coaches are looking at. Well, this guy, his production, wow, that's high. Well, his production, wow, that's high. Well, yeah, 2 yards per carry, he's down at the bottom.
Okay, but still,
think
George,
about
hold on.
Miami.
George, wait.
What?
I'm going to lead into you because I have something to say too. All right, that's all great, Anthony. However, they knew who was on their roster when they went out and got Hughes. So clearly they believed Hughes could come in and be that guy. The fact that the other kids beat him out is great, but those kids were already here. So they did whiff in one way or the other.
Here, Aaron.
No.
They weren't here. Jordan Davidson and De'Aaron Hill were not here.
No.
Noah and Lamar were here.
That's 2.
Yeah.
They ended up 1-2. Okay. God, can you guys just not be homers 100% of the time?
No, it's not, Aaron. You're trying to make something be a bigger deal than
I'm not making a bigger deal. They whiffed on this get.
It's not
okay
a whiff,
that.
Aaron, because
Go ahead.
And the reason why it's not a whiff, Aaron, is because the guys that you are never expecting true freshmen to come in and be contributors. You are not.
You guys are ridiculous.
And you look at this is a similar situation to what Miami had when they had Clinton Portis, Frank Gore, and Willis McGahee all in the same backfield. Now, are these kids going to all go on to have NFL careers? Probably. Are they going to be as good as those guys? Who knows? But sometimes you have a log jam at a position, and that doesn't mean that you whiffed, because whiffing means that Mekhi Hughes is not a good football player. He can be a good football player, and there are great football players around him. So that doesn't mean that you whiffed. And also, he may have added, and here's the thing that you don't know from the outside, that I don't know, you don't know, that nobody but the people on the team knows, is that Mekhi Hughes, who is a veteran, who's taken a lot of carries, we have no idea what he's adding to De'Aaron Hill, Jordan Davidson, Jay Lamar, how much that he has possibly even helped them be as good as they are right now. So I think that all of those are factors, because this is not a Jurion Dickey situation where you had to get the kid away from the team. He's still a part of the team, and there is a reason why, because he's adding value in some sort of way.
Unbelievable. I'm just going to let it go because that was absolutely ridiculous. All right, next up, wait, before we go. Do they need to find a number one back, or are they cool just running back by committee? Newman, I'll go with you.
Well, George said it before. They're going to have a number one back eventually, and maybe Noah Whittington. I don't know. It will happen. It'll come down to 2 backs. But again, you still have 4 good running backs that can tote the rock, and they have different strengths and different weaknesses. So you can still play with that a little bit. You can still, shuffle that around. But there's situations in certain games that these 2 running backs will do better in this game for us than these other 2 running backs. And, man, with the Oregon coaching staff, the running back coach, man, he has a good deal.
Oh, yeah. And one of the other things that I think is important is that running back health is very important. We see it in the NFL. We've seen it when Bucky Irving got hurt. We've seen it when other guys got injured in the past. Running back health matters. And we are no longer in a day and age where, even in the NFL, where you're going to have a guy taking 25, 30 carries a game. That's not going to happen. So and we talked about this in the preseason, where Oregon was going to be shuffling a lot of guys around and the roster was going to get thinner. And it did, because you did not have Mekhi Hughes go to Penn State, and you didn't have one of the other backs. 2022. Geez, Louise.
Oh, that's Harris.
Yeah. Yeah. Harris, and you didn't have the other kid as well take any carries. So the roster is getting shorter. So you have 3 dudes in the running back room that didn't take any carries. So the roster is getting shorter. And as you get closer and closer to playoff time, there is going to be a running back established as the main guy. But the main guy in 2025 football means that you get the majority of the catches, but there's also situational football where other guys are going to get touches as well.
Okay. They brought in Hughes to start. He ended up 3rd or 4th, maybe 5th string. It was a whiff. It's okay, though. Next up, our predictions.
No. Don't try to do that.
See? Start. They didn't bring him in to start.
All right, now it's time for our predictions for this big showdown at Autzen. I can't wait to be there. I hope George shows up so I can finally meet my man.
Wait,
George,
hey, hold on. Don't be going to break until we're done talking. Don't be cutting us off.
You were
just
done.
going to break. Just going to break when you want. Going to break when you want to go to break. Don't
I'm running
you
the
can
show.
stop and be like, I got the last word. I was right. No, Aaron,
hey.
you are wrong.
Yeah, hey, we'll see you on Saturday, right?
Yep.
Oh no! Both
Say
at
it
the
to
same
my
time?
face. Say it to my face. Meet me in Temecula.
Cut me off in person. Okay. All right, dude.
Okay. I'm sending my bobblehead to the game instead of me. All right, Newman. Let's go to you, Newman. Your predictions for this game. What you got?
People are going to laugh, and I think Oregon's going to take care of business. I really do. I think it's going to be like a 35-14 game. Maybe even 10. I think the speed of Oregon, Indiana's not ready for it. The travel, I'm going to say that, and it's not an excuse. And as players, we don't use it as an excuse, but it is something. It is a factor. And Autzen Stadium, the noise, again, the fans don't play, but yet the players still have to hear and communicate and all that kind of stuff, so it can be a factor. And just there's more dudes for Oregon. And George said it, the elite dudes, the guys that they have the elite and then the dudes. That's when you have a problem. And you're trying to play against a team like that for 4 quarters that's coming after you. I think Indiana will break, and I think Oregon will win big.
Wow. All right, George, what say you?
Now, I made a prediction initially on my YouTube channel, Unafraid Show, so you guys can go check that out as well. And I made a prediction when we did the Ducks Confidential of, I think it was 35-24. And Aaron was like, yo, are you going to come down from that? I will tell you, Aaron, I've officially changed my score prediction.
Oh, God.
38-17. This is going to be a runaway. By the end of the game, it's going to be a runaway.
Okay. So you're just sticking with the idea that Indiana just doesn't have the dudes, so to speak, to match up.
It's not the idea. It's just the reality. And Oregon is not a team that has beat itself in the last, since Dan Lanning has been the head coach. Penalties have been some of the lowest that we've ever seen. Turnovers have been some of the lowest that we've ever seen. And those two things have the biggest correlation between winning and losing. And then also, they don't have 3 and outs. Like, it is rare. And when that means you're constantly flipping the field and putting the team, your opponent in longer situations to score, which diminish their chances to score. And when you do those things, you're going to win a lot of football games.
All right. I started out at 33-23 Oregon. Then I kind of went to 30-24, 25, 26, something like that, made it closer. But I kind of been listening, for the first time in my life, I kind of listening to you two. I kind of hear what you're saying. So I'm going back to 33-23. I do think it's going to be a competitive football game until sometime in the 4th. I do think Indiana is good enough, and they play smart football, and they have a legit quarterback who's not going to make a ton of mistakes, that they're going to be able to stay in it for a while. But I do agree that Oregon wins by 2 scores. All right, that's it for this episode of Talkin Ducks. Woo! Man, Jordan, I need you back because these two are just unruly. Hopefully, I'll see you both at Autzen on Saturday, and I will live to talk about it next week.